Welcome to You Can't Break Us, the podcast sharing real stories of parental alienation and family court injustice. I'm your host, Kaylin Hawkinson. Each episode, I sit down with brave guests who open up about their personal journeys, the pain, the resilience, and the fight for justice. These stories are raw, real, and powerful, because speaking out is how we break the silence and remind the world, you can't break us.
Well, it's nice to meet you, and also to talk to a friendly face, I guess.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. Thank you for being here today and being willing to openly share your story as well.
Oh yeah, it's I think for all of us in this situation, it's a really hard story to tell. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it is. But yeah, really, we're just here to talk about your story and alienation and how it began and how it made you feel going through all that.
Sure.
So if you want to start sharing kind of where the alienation began.
Okay. Yeah. My story, and to be honest, I didn't know what parental alienation was until a few years ago. But it's been happening for 9 years now. So it started with all of the best intentions. What happened, the catalyst for everything was I actually got cancer in 2016, and I was very ill. And my husband at the time, which was my two daughters' stepfather, he actually divorced me. He didn't want to go through that journey with me. So he removed himself from the picture. But as a woman recovering, and my job let me go at that time, everything was kind of falling down around me. And I thought I could lean on their father. You know, he had been in the picture with partial custody. He kind of would pop in when he wanted to. Most of the time he would cancel, things like that. And me and him had a very toxic relationship, is putting it mildly. He was extremely physically abusive, as well as emotionally, verbal, across the board. But from my years in the education setting, especially I took special classes for special ed, I knew what was good for my girls was to not trash talk their father. You know, you don't speak ill of him. He's still there. He might not be the greatest person, but I tried to always follow that. But it ended up actually harming me more than anything, because they had no knowledge of our relationship. Because when I left him, they were only a couple years old. So they really didn't know that. They didn't know that side of him. And when I got sick and everything was falling down around me, I reached out to him and said, I have a job offer out of state. I think this will be a really good new start for us. His parents actually lived there, and he expressed that he wanted to move as well. So he agreed he would take the girls and let them live with him so they could finish school. And then once they were out of school, they would actually all be moving with us, like to Colorado. That we would all join back up. It seemed harmless. There was meetings over it. We discussed how it would look. I set up therapists for the girls, like a couple months worth of appointments for after I left. And that's actually the first pain point, because their father doesn't believe in therapy. Why pay someone to just to listen to you? So I found out he didn't take them to their therapy appointments. And that started kind of the first wave of, I have them. I know what's best. So that's how it started. And then his girlfriend actually passed away shortly after. And he slipped into what I can only assume would be depression, but it was fueled by a lot of alcohol and drugs. Something he had problems with in the past, but I knew he was not struggling at the time when the girls were supposed to go with him. So it was the first time he had ever had them. for any length of time. I had full custody. He just had visitation twice a month. And so it was a really big change for him. And I think he struggled with that. And the first thing was he cut off their cell phones. And I couldn't get a hold of anybody. There was no one that would answer my calls. I actually called the police and did a wellness check. I was already out of state at this time. And the police actually ended up getting to the apartment and found them and was like, oh, yeah, they're here. Do you want to talk to them? And, that was the first, I don't know how to word it, but that was my first inclination that something was going wrong, like horribly wrong, I would video chat with the girls and he would be in the background with a date in his apartment. They'd be drinking and, as someone who doesn't even drink and they're, it looked like a party all the time over there and the girls were not priority. And he just didn't like to be called out on that stuff. So he just whittled away my access to them, little by little. And then he actually got to my family who I'm not close with my family. I'm estranged from them. I'm kind of the black sheep, if you will, of my family.
Yeah.
And he told them that I left. I abandoned my children. He told them I left without saying goodbye. I just dropped him off on his doorstep and left. And they supported him. They helped him in the alienation as well as his family as well. They joined in on it. And no matter who I talked to, no one would let me speak to my children. So after a couple months of that, it got very quiet. I wasn't getting anything back. I didn't know if my letters or my packages were being received. And I then discovered that he had actually taken them out of school. He had removed them from their school and moved them to the state where I was, just on the other side of it, a couple hours away. And it took me a few months to find them, to be honest with you. That was a really dark time because no matter who I talked to, they didn't think it was a big deal because he had custody. He had visitation, and now we were in a different state than our, court paperwork was, you know what I mean? So they don't honor custody agreements over state lines. And that was challenging for me because I just could not accept that. I think I applied to legal aid probably 5 or 6 times during this period. I went to 5 or 6 different lawyers and, begged them for some assistance. And of course I didn't have the thousands of dollars they needed and, a retainer. So that was really upsetting. But when I did find them, eventually he was living with his parents, with my children and had enrolled them in school, like a new school. I think I even called the school many times trying to relay what was going on. But he had already put me on a no-call list with the school. So when I would call, they would immediately tell me, we already know about you. Don't call. Those kind of things. And that was really hard because I was always at their school when they were growing up. I was a substitute teacher for 8 years. I was before and after care. I was homeroom mom, soccer mom, PTA mom, you name it. I was trying to give them a childhood that I did not have myself. So it was really important to me that they had a really wonderful childhood that was filled with love and affection and those kind of things. And I just thought it was weird that I got pushback on that from so many people that was in their lives when I wasn't. And it was hard.
And you still had parental rights, though. Did you have a current court order in place that showed that?
I did, yeah. I took that packet with me everywhere. I had it in a manila envelope and I kept it on my person, just in case it, I needed it. If something happened and someone showed up, I would have it.
And did you feel like, yeah, and even with the court order, like with the school not even talking to you like that because he didn't want them to, even with the court order showing you have these rights, did it start to feel at all like, what's the point of a court order then? What is it doing for me?
It did, yeah, because once I did locate them, and I figured out where they were, like their actual address, I started sending the sheriff's office over for wellness checks. And they got annoyed, honestly, after a while, because they were like, listen, lady, there's nothing that paperwork means nothing here. And that was really disheartening. I definitely think that child custody orders should be federalized, or at least recognized across state lines, because I do think that would assist in a lot of these cases, at least make it a lot easier for parents to like regain their access to their children. And also,
well, and you,
I was just gonna say, like, as a woman and a mother, I think it was easier for people to believe, that he was right, because what kind of mother doesn't have her kid? What kind of mother, like what kind of mother lets her kids live with their father and then just leaves the state? You know what I mean? So it was really easy to fall into that. And I felt like I was crazy, honestly. Like, no one believed anything I said, ever. So
yeah,
it's hard.
Everything you're saying, I felt that too going through it. And again, the point of a mother, it's like you grow up kind of learning that the mother has all these rights. And if a mother doesn't have her child, that must mean she did something terrible. She deserves to not have her child, right? So to be in that position where we know the truth, what's really happening, and that parent can manipulate situations and kind of set you up and not obey court orders and get away with it, and you become this mother without her children trying to find help and what can I do, how can I see my children, you're trying to search for answers and anything you can. It does give that kind of stigma of, oh, well, you deserve that then if you don't have your children, and that's not the case.
Yeah. And it was like my situation, at the time, I felt was very rare. Like, I thought, this doesn't happen. Like, there's no way someone is going to hear my story and like just want to help. Like every attorney I talked to, like, if they just heard me say it, maybe if I told the story the right way, or like, as long as I didn't miss any details, I kept every scrap of paper, every text message, every receipt. Because I thought that stuff mattered, you know what I mean? And it does. It's not that it doesn't. It didn't help me get anywhere with anyone, So I felt a little bit helpless, to be honest. And I fulfilled my end of the bargain. I moved out of state and got my job, and I got an apartment, and I had a room for the girls painted and ready to go. And that room sat empty. It just sat empty. I didn't put anything in it because I just was convinced that it would all resolve, it would all just somehow work out, and it never did. It never did. And he would do things, once I located them, he would do things like let me see one but not bring the other, because then I might be tempted to take them. You know what I mean? He would do things like, you can see them, but you have to meet us at this place and I'm staying with you, so you can't get out of my eyesight, things like that.
He started controlling everything, and that's still not abiding by the court order, because you do deserve visits. Yeah.
And I don't think his intention was to do that at first, but it definitely turned into that once he realized what having 2 kids full-time meant. You know what I mean? He had never lived that life. And so once he took on that responsibility, and then when his partner died, he just free-falled. And I don't even think it was his original intention. I just think that it turned into something really ugly and really abusive. And honestly, I didn't even care about myself. I was more concerned for them. These are 2 little girls who don't have their mother. You know what I mean? He doesn't
Yeah.
He can't fill that void where I was, so
Yeah.
it's
Did you ever end up finding a lawyer that can help or that you felt more comfortable talking to?
I did find one actually in Oklahoma. That's where we're from. I found one, and we did quite a few phone meetings back and forth. And he gave me some instructions. He actually was kind of willing to help me without money because I won't lie, I was really broke at this time. I mean, the move took everything out of me. My savings were gone at this point. So I was kind of at the mercy of anyone who would listen, basically.
Yeah.
So he kind of coached me through some things that he thought would help. Documentation, keep file folders on everything, talk to this person, call this person, do the wellness checks, and he gave me some of that information. And so that was helpful, because at least I had someone that was kind of guiding me through what, he thought would get me my girls back. And it didn't matter. It just seemed like their dad was one step ahead of me at all times, So I could never get ahead of that. And I never could get a lawyer who would take the case. A lot of them said, this is from out of state. There's already court proceedings on the custody and things like this. You need to go back to Oklahoma. You need to go back and that wasn't an option for me. I did not have a dime to my name to go back to Oklahoma and start a legal battle. And they weren't even in that state anymore. So it was a legal mess, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. And it really is financially straining. I mean, it's not easy. I don't know if you ever had any comments made of, oh, just go to court, oh, just go get a lawyer. But I've heard comments like that, and it's not that simple. It's not that easy to just get a lawyer or just go to court. It's a very straining, long process that can financially drain someone.
Oh, yeah. I think I even paid for the company I was working for. I opted into a legal program that they had, and they would take money out of my paycheck to assist with getting a lawyer. Unfortunately, every single one I talked to through that legal program would not take my case because it was like an already established case from another state. So both of those things they just weren't willing to help me on. And I couldn't unenroll from that program. Sorry, that's my toddler in the background.
Yeah, that's okay.
So I couldn't unenroll from that program. So I was like stuck paying for this legal team that wouldn't even assist me. I think it was a little over a year I had that. And that was really tough because I thought, if I do this is going to work, and you just keep chipping away. You're like, okay, if I just do this, it'll work. Something will work, and just never did.
And it's not easy being hopeful like that, because having these programs to assist you or saying there's these resources to help you, and you try and you go through this long process just to kind of come out the other end and be like, I actually didn't receive any help. I spent so much money. I did all that I can, and it got me nowhere. And we're taught, that these are supposed to help us. And even if you are in court, it's supposed to help you and do the best interest of the child. And many times it seems like it's just a long, drawn out process that makes it worse in the end.
I think their dad even at times was like, go ahead, take me to court, go ahead. And hold on, I'm sorry. I have just for disclosure, I have a 3-year-old who, we'll call him high needs. He has ASD and apraxia, so he's not used to being inaccessible. So I'm
well, if he can hear me, hello.
buddy. He just started preschool. He's on E, and he goes to all day preschool. It's only his second week, so he's a little so sorry about that. It's okay, but
oh, you're fine.
But
it is totally okay.
But that's also a good point. Like, having children after you've lost your children, like There are some people who look down on that as well. And their dad actually used that against me. Like he would text me and say, "You're replacing them," all kinds of things like that. So I know that I've seen a lot of parents there's a really great Reddit group for parental alienation. Everyone's really supportive in that group. And they've expressed similar things like, how do you have children after you've lost your children who are still alive, So that's
a lot
to
of
tackle.
Yeah, a lot of good topics to relate to for people who have experienced it and can kind of have a community there and support. So there's a lot of Facebook groups as well, and resources that hopefully anyone who's watching can, maybe if they're not aware, go on there and just search parental alienation wherever, and you'll find a community support group to join.
It has been great, and that's a great point, because there's a lot of people who ask the same questions, like in those groups. What can I do during this time, like, so I don't go crazy, so I don't lose my mind, so I don't give up on life. And the biggest thing that I always tell everyone: find a hobby. Find a hobby. If you don't like it, start a new one. If you don't like that one, try a new one. Just to keep yourself moving. And I always tell people therapy. You need a therapist. You just can't. I don't see how someone could go through this and survive without a therapist. Because unfortunately, I have actually heard cases where parents have taken their lives over this. And
there are many.
I've heard several stories, and that just breaks my heart, because they can't see the other side of it. We get so down and deep, and we feel lost in this position. So it's a crisis counselor
I think
said to me once, she said, you have to take care of yourself and preserve your best self in case your girls have a change in perspective and come back to you. You want to
exactly.
Yeah, you want to be ready for them, and you want to be your best version of yourself for them. And honestly, that changed me, and that's what's kept me going. So, yeah.
And that's a great point to bring up. It's very self-care, self-help, healing. It's a journey, a process to go through. And I think to the point of therapists, I think they can be so helpful to teach these topics, and through the process of, on top of that, I think, therapists aren't required to be trained on these topics. So it is, I think, important to maybe find a therapist and ask these questions to see if they are familiar with it, because that's what changed me. Having a therapist that wasn't quite familiar as much, to then a therapist who has a lot of background, knows a lot about it. She changed it for me. She was wonderful and could explain so much. And so I think that's very helpful to make sure to maybe ask your therapist if they have background in these topics or knowledgeable on it.
Yeah, definitely. Like reunification therapists are really important. I actually went through, the one I have now is amazing. I actually talked to her this morning before our interview. I was like, I need a little pep talk, but she's been excellent, but I've had two before her that were not. I've even had the first one I went to that was an actual real therapist. She just stopped shy of shaming me. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt like on the verge of, I feel like she's judging me based on what I'm telling her.
And that's sad. That's hard.
Yeah.
Especially going to a professional who does this for a living. It's their career to help you. And yet here I am at this professional also making me feel judged and feel worse. Yeah. So that can make you feel even more shut in society with friends, family, anyone. It doesn't make you want to speak out or tell your story or ask for help or say what's going on then.
Yeah. And that's true. I I think last year, about 6 months out of last year, I was actually in an intensive outpatient program through the hospital because I had been in a really bad car accident. I had a brain injury, and I could not control my emotions. And I was waking up at like multiple times at night with my girls' faces like fresh in my mind, and I couldn't get out of it, like the loop. And I was in a dark place, and I checked myself into this program, and that helped a lot because I could like, it was the first time I could sit in a group of people and just say what was going on with me. And I felt comfortable that they weren't going to judge me. And that helped a lot, honestly. Like it wasn't tailored for my specific situation, but it somehow, it really did help where I was at. So, but
no, and I wanna say good for you, because that's something people can struggle with too, to admit that, how bad they're feeling, maybe feeling so depressed or sinking down through what's going on. It like we said, it can be hard to ask for help or ask what to do, because you could even be along the way be taught that you're wrong for asking for help, or the other parent, the narcissist, will twist that and manipulate and be like, oh, look, they're mentally unstable, they need help. All kinds of situations. And that plays a huge part. And unfortunately, like you said, people do end up committing suicide. They don't get the help needed. They feel trapped and just buried like that.
Yeah.
So I want to commend you, though. You took care of yourself. You found ways to help, and that's strong. That's strength. That's bravery. So good for you.
Yeah. There was, I would say before the light was a really, really dark spot. Like when I figured that, when I honestly thought I was not going to get my girls back, when I was at my lowest point, I actually, like, I lost my job over it, because I was struggling just mentally, even physically, to get up in the morning. And I was getting ready to lose everything. And I actually, it's embarrassing, but also I think it could be helpful for people, is I kind of gave up all of my possessions, and I couldn't afford my apartment anymore. So I sold everything and I went into a homeless shelter. They did have a family side, but I was in just the women's area. And I lived there for 4 months, and got myself a job and worked myself to an apartment and a car. And because everything you're doing is, okay, if I just do this might work. You know what I mean? This is going to work. And, I'm going to walk to work, even if it's 5 miles, and I'm going to get a good job and get an apartment and a car. And those things are going to work in my favor. And it's so hard when they don't, and it was another place where I painted a room for the girls and waited for them to come, and it just never did. But I think that you have to just keep living. You have to keep going, because if one day they need a safe place, I want to be that safe space. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And that's such a good outlook to have on it. It's hard. Like you said, it is hard to bring yourself to that kind of positive side of it, thinking, being encouraging, self-motivating, and getting yourself to that place, because we've just been so torn down this whole process. And it's hard to rise when you're just being constantly torn down and broken. And I think another thing is, us as parents, it's like your whole self-identity becomes this. And so it's hard to step out of that and see a different side, like you're mentioning, of I need to get there. I need to be better. I need to work on healing, because my children could come around someday and they need a safe space. They need a healed mother.
Yeah.
Not that we ever fully heal. Obviously, it's always a journey.
Yeah.
And we have our days.
Open wound. This feels like grieving someone who's alive is a never-ending raw wound that never will heal. I feel like even if I do get to see them again, it's just never like they're two little girls, like they lost valuable time. They were 9 and 12 at the time. They're both now over 18. You know what I mean? And still choose, they still choose to not contact me after 9 years of living with their father. So from going to full-time mom, full-time single mom, being at their school and being present and being the only one in their lives, like, to nothing. And even when they're adults, they still continue that. It's a hard thing to live with sometimes. Yeah.
It is. And that's the unfortunate reality to situations as well. A lot of times we might be going through it thinking my child will come around someday. And on the flip side, unfortunately, realistically, it doesn't always happen, or not until they're much older, maybe. And it is hard to process that and think about that, and also still be able to work on healing and still be that positive side, though, to it.
It's very hard. It's a hard balance.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think, as adults over 18, do you think a big part of that is because their dad may have talked bad about you, twisted situations, kind of brainwashed and, manipulated them?
Yeah. And I have quite a bit of documentation on that speaks to all of that. I mean, he reached out actually the other day, and I haven't heard from him in almost 2 years. And it was just this huge message, and it gave me good insight, because I could see what he had been telling them. He was telling them that they were born in love and they were adored by their parents, and I left him, and I, all these things, and I got to see what story he was spinning. And I hated it, because I know what I went through. I know there's police records and things on him, and of past abuses and past restraining orders and things like that. And those things seem to have just been completely dissolved into his lies. And now they think that I left him, which I did, but it was because he was abusing me. You know what I mean? And they think that I did it just because. So it's just something I can't make sense of, which drives me crazy, because you can't make sense of crazy. You can't make sense of something that's not logical. And that will eat at you, honestly.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And I know you mentioned a hobby being something to think of that can help, finding a hobby or something. Is there anything else you found that maybe helped you through this? You mentioned some other things like the outpatient and therapy. Is there anything else you'd recommend to, especially parents who are being alienated and going through this?
Yeah. The first one, I always tell people, look, like you said, Facebook groups. You never know. You might even find someone in your area who is going through something similar, and you can maybe create your own support group. The group therapy, trauma-based therapy is really important. I haven't done it personally, but I do know some people who are in grief support groups. That one's a little hard, because that's usually people who have lost loved ones from a death. So again, you're grieving someone who's still alive. But the hobbies, I used to hike, and I'd hike these canyons and these mountain passes, and I would scream, just like this motherly primal scream into nature. To gain some,
let it all out.
Just let it out. Go to a smash room, go, one of those, you know what I mean? Whatever you can to preserve yourself, you know what I mean? So,
and healthy ways to release kind of the anger or the pain.
Exactly. Because I do know that a lot of times people in this position will turn to vices that maybe don't serve them very well.
Yeah.
And that's an easy thing to do, honestly.
Yeah.
So I just find support, find a therapist. If you have to go through 5 different therapists, do it. Like whatever makes you, you know, some people call that selfish, to be honest. Like I've had people say that that's selfish, but I
don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think
no.
he is a reason. Like I'm working on myself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm doing the
well, and you want to connect with the therapist you have. That's the whole point of it. And I think they understand very well that doesn't always happen. You know, clients might look around at different therapists to see who kind of connects and understands their background. So that I think that's what you need to do.
Yeah. There's a really great group that is kind of national. It's called NAMI. And they have different kinds of support groups. Like they do art night where you can just show up once a month. They have art supplies everywhere and you just show up and whatever you feel like crafting, you know, just like, but it's in a therapeutic, like safe space.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I do recommend that one. And I know they have groups all over the United States. So that's something.
NAMI?
I think it's NAAMI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. I haven't heard of that one before. I'll have to look it up and see what it is.
And that you just find like your state and it will show you all the different kind of groups. The one near me, I think they have like a dance class.
Oh, fun.
Like here's some music, just move your body, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm a big researcher. So like, I like to dig in on things and find like what's in my area, what's going on. I do suffer from a little bit of antisocial, what do I want to call it? I have a lot of trouble leaving my house now, to be honest. Like I struggle making friends because I've told people what's going on and I've had people withdraw themselves from my life or make judgment. And that's a good point. That I would tell people is to hold your truth very closely to you and hold on to that because you don't want to entrust that to someone who's going to make you feel worse. You know what I mean? So you really do want to make sure you're giving people that have your best interests at heart that information, you know, because it can be used against you. And so, Yeah,
no, that's good points to all bring up. You gave a lot of great resources and information that could help other people who are watching and maybe be searching for something to help them. So I really appreciate that. And I'm so sorry for everything you've gone through, but I'm amazed to see you that you are just strong and you never gave up and you worked on yourself and you know, you held true to yourself like that. And that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
And here you are able to talk about a healing journey and caring for yourself through it.
Yeah, I would say that I've only found that probably in the last year, to be honest. Like I said, the car accident kind of did that, but like it led me to this journey and I'm appreciative of it, you know, like I'm still here and I have my son now who's 3 and he keeps me going. He gave me purpose where I thought I had lost mine, you know, because I always thought I was going to be a mom. Like I just wanted to be a mom, you know, that was my purpose in life. Like what I did with myself didn't matter. If I was a good mom and I had my babies, like that's it, you know? And so when you take something away from someone like that, really terrible things can happen. But I think that there's other options. There's definitely other options and you don't have to lose yourself to this. Men and women. I know this is more common for men. Parental alienation usually is in the reverse order than where we're sitting at. It's more prevalent anyways. So I think that's really important to break down that gender role because we can, even though it's a man suffering from parental alienation, there's a bond there immediately. You know what I mean? Like I've talked to people on Reddit who are, you know, they think it's worth a fight to mention, you know, that this is a man's problem. You know, again, if a woman doesn't have her kids, she must have done something to deserve it. So there's a little bit of a weird stigma there. But those people, anytime, like in any of the groups I've ever been in, whether it's in person or online, after some bit of communication, we all tend to see that we're all on the same page. We're suffering from the same things. We need the same support, and things like that. So I think I'm hoping that this will become something that's more talked about, because I think parental alienation is, I didn't even know the term until a couple of years ago. I didn't know what was happening. And I think when you know that, you know how to move forward. So, yeah.
Yeah, very good. It's, even going through it and learning about it, I think it's good to just research it in general, because it could teach you some things about what it is, and then the narcissistic traits, usually of the parent that is creating the alienation going on. There's a lot of patterns there, and it can open eyes to kind of even just research it and be a little knowledgeable on it and see what it all means or what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I noticed, like, you have a book out. I'm actually smack dab in the middle of writing mine. So
nice. Yes.
Tips there, I would appreciate it. But that's a journey, because you're opening up wounds that, are from kind of a while ago. They thought that they've healed, but they're not as raw. And then you start writing about them, and they're all of a sudden very, like, in your face, so
it is. It takes you back through it as you're writing your own story out. And do you feel like, since you're writing your story, your own book, do you feel like it's also a way to heal and cope a little bit, kind of like writing it out?
Yeah, I do think that, for sure, because the first thing I did was I wrote out, it's like almost 50 pages. It's a timeline of my entire life, just so I could get a big picture of, like, where did I start? Where did this, like, start creeping in? What, like, how, like, I grew up I had a traumatic childhood. I did not grow up in a house of love or affection, and things like that. And I left my home early. And I think, I mean, that's really hard, because you don't even know what a healthy relationship looks like. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I don't even know where I was going with that. I'm so sorry. But
no, you're fine. No, but that kind of going back from childhood, this doesn't excuse how you were treated by, your kid's father or parents or anyone, but it kind of going back and seeing how you learned and were taught, and it's like a cycle. You're used to that, and it's like a trauma bond type of thing almost, where you get in relationships like that, then you don't even really think about it or notice, because it's just been normal your whole life. And that's, it's sad and unfortunate, but like you're doing, you're kind of really picking it apart and outlining it and looking back, and probably realizing a lot as you're going through this.
Definitely. Yeah. It's easy, like you said, it's easy to fall into those relationships when, I mean, I saw my mom and my stepdad behave that way with each other, so this must be how everybody is, this.
Right.
But it's taken me until recently to kind of change my self-concept, my self-worth, and my value, and get just a tiny bit of confidence. Like, it's, you know what I mean? And that's made a difference, for sure.
Yeah. And that's something to be built up when you've experienced so much loss and trauma. I think it's not like you can just wake up and feel better. So it's definitely a work in progress to continue that journey and build yourself up. And it sounds like you're doing a lot to just find ways to help and, get through that. And that's all you can really do. And that's commendable. So
I never stop. I'm an early riser. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I have my coffee, and I have to do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't, I'm working in clay and driftwood, and I go, we don't live far from Lake Erie, so we go up there and pick rocks and wood and come home and make stuff out of them, because whatever you can do to keep moving forward, whatever that is, hold on to it. So for me, it's art, it's writing, it's, being
and those
clean at home.
Yeah. And those things can be very therapeutic. I think they're great resources, great outlets. So I definitely appreciate you being open and sharing your story. And you'll have to keep in touch with me and let me know when your book comes out.
For sure. And I've only got a few chapters written right now, but I'm excited. I didn't think I would be. I didn't think it would be a story I'd want to tell a bunch of people.
Right. Yeah.
But I've come to realize that I never got to tell my story. My kids didn't hear it. My kids have never heard my story. My parents, my family, they've never heard my side. And so my therapist says this is really a great, even if not one person reads the book, it's not even about that. It's just that my truth is written down somewhere, and maybe one day my girls will see it, and
I think that's a great mindset to have. That's exactly why I did it. I felt like all these years I felt silenced, I felt discredited, abused, and I felt crazy too going through it, like no one's gonna believe me, what is happening. And so to get to the end of that, and through therapy and through a healing process, that was one way. I just started to do it for myself. I didn't expect to actually publish it or actually have anyone really read it. I was doing it for me and to kind of like a healing process. And it can help. And just to kind of take your control back, it helps you feel like this is my truth. This is my life story. I deserve to have that. And I shouldn't feel like my life is being taken from me, or like I'm living under a rock because I'm being silenced and abused. And so it's like allowing yourself that freedom to not be controlled by that anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a good way to put, taking back the control. Someone has taken it from you, and you have this urge, this need to regain that, because there's so many times, or I've heard so many stories, we don't deserve to be here in this position. You know what I mean? Our kids don't deserve to be in this position, because our kids are being abused just as much as we are by the alienation. So it's, I think it's important to regain control and hold to your truth as hard as you can and never let it go, because that's definitely something that people will try to take from you. So and
I hope as you share your story more, write your book and publish, or wherever your journey takes you, I hope you find more support going through that, because I didn't think of it that way. I guess when I was writing it, I still kind of felt like no one might believe me still. This is kind of more for me. And I actually gained a lot more support, and I was actually pretty surprised. So I hope that happens for you too, where you can start to slowly maybe speak out a little more and feel better about it.
Yeah, I was invited to do a documentary earlier this year on it, and I said, yeah, definitely, I'm going to do it. And I didn't have the same resolve in myself then as I do now. So I chickened out. I mean, quite literally, I could not even put myself on camera. So I do feel, just through finding a good therapist and finding someone who understands me and talking to you. And I just recently joined the Facebook groups even. So those things have been really, they've been moved. What am I trying to say?
It helps. It's like
change.
It's support and connecting with people that don't make you feel judged. They understand what you're going through. We can be there as support for each other, and you're finally kind of coming to this other side of it, where it helps you kind of start to open up a little more and be like, wow, there are people who believe me. There are people who will support me. And that does really help a lot. Find the right people.
Yeah, so that's really valuable, I think. Like just having
Yeah.
like my partner now, like he saw some of that, he saw some of my ex's behavior, and he's seen the messages, and he's seen that
Yeah.
having just one person support you and believe you makes all the difference. So you almost like
Yeah.
want to find more, like someone, please just believe me. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
feel.
that's the thing, because behind closed doors, like the messages and things he's doing, that's, behind closed doors, the public is not seeing that. And we're not necessarily going out there being like, look at this, look at this. So it really shuts you in, and they can kind of paint this persona that they're like the great parent, they're the hero, they're the one doing everything. But in reality, they're creating the issues, putting us in those positions and alienating, and then twisting it and making them seem like they saved the children and they're keeping them from an unfit parent. And it's just a whole plot line of that. So
literally just described my whole my situation to a T. And I hear it all the time. Like I know there's people working in the background to try and change like maybe laws or, but it's never been addressed, I don't think, federally. I've just seen little pockets in different states trying to, initiate change. So I think the more people get out and the more people talk about it, I think the more support we'll get, and maybe some change in legislation and things like that. So.
Exactly. I hope so too. I really hope that. And I really appreciate you being here and speaking openly, because you're a part of that change then, right? You're allowing yourself to come on here and openly share your story like this. And that's what we need, and more people to speak out like you're doing right now. So I do appreciate you doing that today.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I'm really glad I hopped on and found the courage. I'm so glad that
I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you for doing that. And I mean that because it is hard. I've been in that position. It can be hard to even talk and even say anything that's happened. It's something you have to build up, and
for sure.
It is hard to talk. So
it's it almost seems like something like the words don't make sense, like trying to get them out. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't, because we're moms, we're parents, we're trying to be rational, and sometimes these things are not rational. They make no sense. And I'm hoping that something changes so people can navigate this a little bit easier and find their path through it. So thanks for doing this and the book.
Of course.
Else I see you on the groups, commenting and stuff. So I think
of course,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much, Janis, and we will definitely keep in touch. I definitely look forward to knowing when your book comes around and comes out, and I'll help spread that word of it too. I look forward to it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Well, I'll be here as support still, so keep in touch, but I'll let you go, and thanks again for being here today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Yes. Bye.
Thank you for listening to You Can't Break Us. If this episode spoke to you, subscribe and leave a review. Every voice matters. Every story counts. If you or someone you know has a story to share, email youcantbreakuspodcast@gmail.com to connect with me. Until next time, stay strong, stay grounded, and never stop using your voice. Because no matter what they've tried to take from us, they can't break us.